few slides I'm going to take you through. Okay, can everybody see that? Thumbs up?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. It's 9:30 in the UK and I've just about woken up. So if this is a little slower than my normal presentations, I apologize in advance. But it's a super exciting topic. We're really excited to have you guys as part of our new YTAP YouTube Activation Partner Program. The way this program, I guess, has been developed is such that we don't have a great deal of external slides. So what I've prepared for you today is a general overview around what the program is, what it looks like externally, what the expectations from Google are of partners, how my team GCAS continues to support you, and I'll talk around it basically. So let's use this as an interactive session. You can ask lots of questions along the way. But I think, if we think about where I started from working with Channel Factory, the idea of this YouTube Activation Partner Program was always in the background of like my role basically. So I sit in our global agency team. I work really closely with my counterpart in our GPS organization, which is the product organization, on effectively the third-party YouTube ecosystem. The genesis of this began in 2023. So the team led by Andrew realized that we had this cohort of partners who were influential in our ecosystem, obviously managing large sums of YouTube budgets, actually in some instances knew our products and platforms better than we do. You stress test our platforms well and you help us kind of find issues and opportunities, but you were largely underrepresented in how we think about structuring sales channels for this ecosystem. And I'll say that I think existing programs that some we were participants of, like the measurement program, but also things like the partner sales program, which is YouTube resellers, they weren't really fit for everything that you did. They covered part of your business, but not the whole of your business. And as such, that led to misrepresentation. It led to friction in the sales cycles. It led to you having to, I guess, kind of prove yourself through a program, which was part of what you did, but not the whole of what you did. And so this gives us another string to that bow. While we continue to support YTMP, YTAP is a broader program designed to work with partners who we know, for lack of a better phrase, are shit hot at doing YouTube, right? They connect us to this ecosystem, and it's our way of supporting you, but also supporting YouTube as a whole. So that's like the genesis of that. My role in this has been to co-develop the program architecture with Andrew. So partner identification, working closely with you, identifying your strengths, making sure you were kind of fit for the program. You were like a no-brainer, to be honest. We always knew you were going to kind of be a launch partner with us. But my job going forward will be, let's continue to maximize the opportunity that comes as a result of YTAP. So what is the kind of general vision for the Activation Partner Program? You'll hear I'll say YTAP a lot because it's easier, but technically the external language is YouTube Activation Partners. The goal is to help advertisers discover and explore partners who can basically accelerate YouTube. Advertisers in this sense is advertisers and agency. What we're really trying to tap into here is the deep YouTube expertise that exists outside of our traditional advertiser and agency ecosystem, and really lean on that to help accelerate YouTube goals, both for you, so you grow your business, but also solving for challenges that our advertisers might face and maybe aren't being met by the existing market. So the general kind of, I guess, language is, if you need strategic guidance, if you need support, go to the YouTube Activation Partner site. How we hope this program develops is much like our GMP partners, so our Google marketing partners. If an advertiser or even a Google sales team has a client that needs help with any of our enterprise products like DV360, general GMP products, their natural line of thinking is to go, oh, we'll go and check out our GMP partners. They sit on our GMP partner page. They're like the kind of Jellyfish, Mighty Hive, all of our resellers, our DV360 specialists. There's a connection between our teams, the external environment, and that platform to basically know that those are the people to turn to when you need DV360 support, basically. I want us to get to a point in the market where when people are thinking about YouTube and how they activate YouTube, they have that same thinking. So they go to the YouTube Activation Partner page, they find the roster of partners, and they can see, great, I need help with YouTube. Here is a selection of partners who I know will help me get YouTube going. And that could be from, early adopters, people just trying to get started on the platform, through to established businesses trying to basically enhance their strategy through deeper levels of expertise. I think that's where we're really excited about this. The place where the YTAP program sits gets 12 million hits a year from the GMP, well, the EMP element of it, but that's effectively the legacy kind of inbound inquiries and interest from that. We sit alongside that, so we sit in the same space as that interest today. We're hoping to drive more to that as we start to build this program out in 2026. So super exciting opportunity. I'll talk about launch partners. So we launched with 4 partners. You guys will be fully aware of this if you've looked and checked out the roster. The launch partner cohort has some overlap with YTMP, some not overlap with YTMP. Being participants of YTMP and YTAP, they're 2 separate entities that, like, being part of one doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be part of the other, and vice versa. But the launch set of partners and why we worked with you in particular was the size, scope, and sophistication of your business. What we're trying to avoid YTAP being is an incubation program in the pilot year. We're not kind of throwing the doors open to everybody out there straight away, but it isn't a closed program by any means. So I need to reiterate that. People can submit their interest to this program, assuming that they meet the criteria. So that criteria is that they are an independent YouTube service provider. They don't have any relationship in terms of ownership structures with any other entity, like an advertiser or media owner. That's an important point because it removes the risk of gaming, basically. So, which is obviously one of the kind of key things we want to avoid here. They need to have an established and scaled YouTube business. You guys have an established and scaled YouTube business. It's global. You know, you're doing great. You're growing. Really exciting. You need to maintain dedicated sales support, accounts management capabilities. You need to be able to integrate across our full suite of YouTube products. We need to see strong customer demand for YouTube-centric solutions via partners. And what I mean by that is there is a notion of not necessarily like the loudest parts, but if we're seeing strong buy-side demand for support from third parties, particular third parties come out quite clearly in that, right? So we hear more about Channel Factory than we hear about some other partners in the ecosystem. And so knowing that demand is there, knowing that you're winning business across our agency and advertiser ecosystem creates that demand and that noise, right? So you're there, we knew you were with that. And then being in compliance with Google policies is super important. So I'll kind of talk on some of these criteria a bit later in terms of like partner performance and how we're going to evaluate the success of this. I will say we're in a soft launch phase. We launched with some blog posts. Obviously, you put your blog post out. We launched with the YouTube blog, putting out an update. We launched with our own YouTube Twitter feed, making an update. We are in a kind of soft launch phase in Q4. The pilot period starts from January through to December next year. And then what we'll be doing around this time next year is reviewing effectively the performance of the program to date, and then how we adjust and evaluate the program for 2027. So just be aware that some of these criteria and some of the things I'm sharing with you today are subject to change and subject to reevaluation depending on our own success. So, you know, this is a bit of an ask from me, I guess. Let's work together on making this a success. I think it benefits all of us if we can really maximize this opportunity. But yeah, please be aware that, you know, this isn't a kind of done deal that this will last in perpetuity. We have to prove its value next year, and we have to do that together, right? So as I mentioned before, the program sits on our marketing page, our program marketing page. It's front and center. There's kind of 3 things people can come to the EMP platform when they want to find a partner: Google marketing partner, technology partner, or YouTube partner. So front and center, great visibility. Once that clicks through, you get through to the explanation of what the YouTube activation partner page is, as well as, you know, who the roster is. The roster looks like this. It's a little bit sparse, to be honest, but I'm happy that we've got, you know, a strong set of launch partners. You guys know this. I'm not going to kind of flog it, but I just want to give you a sense of how it lives and how it sits within our marketing environments. It's really exciting. It's really hard to get a program launched at Google. It's particularly hard to get a program launched within this environment, considering the size and scope of the other kind of programs in this. So super excited. I think everyone here should be excited about that too. So, you know, that's like the genesis. That's what we've been doing. I want to just kind of call out, what does like good look like from just a general sense? You know, so take some of these, you do a lot of these today anyway, but what were we looking for and what will be some of those evaluation points? And I'll go into this in a bit more kind of material detail in a minute, but I think for everybody on the call, it's super important to be able to articulate well, like the why of YouTube. We are working with a set of partners who we believe can help us truly like evangelize the platform in market, right? You know, we're not going to be accrediting partners who go out and say, YouTube's okay. It's not the purpose of the partnership, right? So make sure you know where it fits, make sure you're really kind of tooled up on the narratives, the understanding, and it's on our job to help you get there. So that's not on you to just kind of take that on, but knowing that and being, kind of proud of the participation is important. Being able to meet a wide range of solutions is also very important. We need to remember this is a broad program. This isn't focused on suitability. This isn't focused on just branding or performance. You will be getting inbound queries from a wide range of potential opportunities where your technology and solutions obviously kind of enhance your ability to meet those. But keep in mind that we need to be open-minded to the opportunities that come through. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into like one corner of activation, because we will lose the opportunity to win new business that sits outside of that. So kind of take that on board and think about that. I think ensuring that your sales material reflect those opportunities is super important. This is, again, something we kind of work on together. Making sure the team is proficient in our product. You guys are anyway, not a concern. You guys are incredible at YouTube. You do a fantastic job, but continue to be on the lookout for training and development opportunities that we put out there. As part of this program, we'll be surfacing certification opportunities, we'll be surfacing new training opportunities, and so on. And then the last point is continue to collaborate with us, right? The purpose of this program is to build a collaborative sales environment between Google, advertisers, agencies, and third parties. So strong collaboration between all three of us is super important to make sure that we prove the success. So these are just some general tenets that we're kind of sharing with all partners when we think about the program. In terms of like how we evaluate the actual success of the program, I want to be kind of clear on the expectations from Google and GPS and Andrew's team. So there's kind of three things we're really going to look at. One is, what is the program site engagement? What is the buy-side program sentiment? Are we getting lots of inbound traffic? Are we getting lots of inbound inquiries? Are we seeing positive positioning of the program externally? We got our first data review of the platform site from launch and its analytics. And actually, it looked good. We had a lot of engagement. We had a lot of interest. There's been a lot of kind of clicking around. I'm sure some of that probably comes from our partners rather than external market. So we hope to kind of rebalance that towards opportunities rather than like learning. But we're seeing positive engagement so far, so that's really good. Obviously, it's a YouTube activation program. So activating YouTube is the most important criteria. Like, how are we looking at a program and how are we looking at a partner level? So we're going to evaluate at program level, just generally how us incubating and work with you and your kind of peers helps accelerate some of our kind of key strategic priorities. And we'll continue to share what they look like through our JBP, and in 2026 we'll help kind of guide more information on that. And then just generally kind of revenue trumps all in Google's world, right? So positive revenue trends, incremental revenue generation is really important. Profile of that revenue generation is also, kind of interesting to look at. So as we start to spin up pilot opportunities unlocked by YTAP, it's seeing whether that is kind of ticking the box. So a good example of that is within the US GCS agency team, so mid-market agency sales. They see YTAP partners as an accelerating force across their indies and long tail agencies, and they're spinning up programs to see how we can introduce you to new partners or new agencies that maybe you haven't started working in those markets, and actually introduce you as an opportunity for growth. So the success of those will be quite important. And then at a partner level, we'll have JVPs, we'll understand each other's businesses, we'll set some goals in those JVPs, just making sure we're meeting those. They're not like hard targets, but it will be directional around the opportunities that become present. And then finally, it's around partners' kind of performance, I guess, in relation to the program. So representation, we'll again continue to work together on sales materials, opportunities, and so on. But then also just adherence to the general principles that we all signed up to, and then the advocacy for those solutions. And then the final one is just one of the kind of key criteria, things like ensuring that we are in compliance with all policies, for example. So making sure, accounts receivable in order, and there's, kind of no major kind of policy issues. And I don't mean policies by, we're seeing flags in the accounts. I mean like breaches of our standard terms, which again, we don't have issues there, but just be aware. In terms of what we're doing to support that goal and that vision in 2026, we're going to continue to share more sales material, best practice training and resources. Within the enterprise marketing site next year, we will be launching a partner sales hub. So that'll be access for your teams to be able to log in and see our pitch material, get our roadmaps, get our beta decks, self-service. You don't have to request it from me, that will sit. We're not sure yet whether there will be a handful of people at Channel Factory who will get access to that, or if it will be broad access. We haven't yet worked out the kind of token system for that, but someone will get access next year and be able to distribute that information. We continue to build advocacy for you across our business. So I'll give you a flavor of what that looks like. In the last 3 weeks, I've attended possibly about 25 different training sessions. I presented to probably about 400 Googlers talking about you, your business, how we operate. And we continue to help those teams understand how this ecosystem works to give you a smoother runway as you start to work kind of closer with us. It's not a like one and done fix, and all of those challenges we face, people are people, and some markets are more sophisticated than others. But we have a very strong foundation to build better sales collaboration and sales success from. And I think the spirit of, kind of how you can support that is come with that excitement about being a YouTube partner now, being a YTAP partner, talk about how we can kind of grow together and, kind of come with the right kind of phrasing of our teams, and I'll do the work that our teams come in the same way. And we can avoid that, oh, no one really quite knows how each other operates. And we can start to actually kind of jump into the opportunities from the beginning. Next year, we're going to be building out roadshows and marketing opportunities. So we're looking at partner roadshows, both internally and externally, so opportunities to promote your business. We'll be building new JVPs. There'll be a whole element of that set within like YTAP itself. So our joint business plans are generally focused on your capabilities. So we're going to be focused on enhancing capabilities through things like new API access, new product access, training and development. We talk about operations. How do we get operationally really rigorous? How do we sort our commercials and make sure that everything we're doing commercially makes sense? And then we're going to have a separate pillar to that, which will be YTAP. So it'll be kind of program JVP requirements. One thing I've been working on as part of that is I've been working really closely with our YouTube product teams to understand where can we highlight new opportunities to test products before launch? How can we carve out YTAPs as an allow listing kind of criteria for alphas? We're also looking at where we could potentially give kind of new inventory opportunities that maybe aren't open externally. And we're also hopeful that we can lean on YTAP partners to help us accelerate best practices that we're testing out or give feedback on the direction of new products. So I think there's going to be some really interesting product partnership opportunities that come as a result of this program. And then I mentioned the US GCS pilot. I am effectively spinning up kind of 4 or 5 of these in some of our key markets, and they're all in the kind of early briefing stage at the moment. We're looking at where we can use our sellers as an accelerant for the YTAP cohort and how we can mutually solve problems. Really exciting because it gives us a chance to start from a different position of early collaboration rather than you win the account and then our teams get involved and then we try and establish some of that. So those aren't externally shareable today. We can't talk about those with your customers, but as we have more information coming up and as we start to kind of provide you with briefing opportunities, you'll start to see the benefit of those. So yeah, lots of opportunities, lots to come. I think it'd be remiss of me not to just refer back to the onboarding guide and language and representation of the program. So there's lots of benefits here. We're really excited about you guys kind of talking to it, but I think number one, don't refer to it as a pilot today, just refer to it out of the program. No, it's a pilot, but assume it's kind of continuing. I expect it to. We need to avoid some language though in market, like certification program. It's technically not a certification program. It is just a YouTube program, and your membership of that is that you are a program member, you're a launch member. You can talk about that in many ways, but try to avoid this as YouTube has certified us as this, because there is no certification element to this program. So super important. While we endorse, I guess, kind of YTAPs and the ecosystems, we need to avoid using it as an endorsement of a particular service or product. It's a broad certificate. It's a broad acknowledgement of the ecosystem rather than saying we are, Google has acknowledged our ability to do this very kind of slim thing in relation to YTAP. So just be careful with that. It's important to not create any kind of swirl around some of that. And then I think it's not a closed program and it's not kind of comparative to other programs. So just kind of be aware of that messaging. The reason I say that is because some of the feedback as we were launching this was the feeling from GPS that other closed programs have been kind of weaponized against non-program participants. And I'm not saying, you guys are kind of doing that. But one of the things we have to do quite early is ensure that we don't kind of give the indication that we're closing off part of this ecosystem, giving kind of preferential treatment or, preferential opportunities, because anyone can apply through the YTAP portal to become a YTAP partner. So just kind of bear that in mind. But you have obviously an opportunity as a launch partner to really kind of carve out your space in this program. And we obviously have a deep and established, relationship now. So there's lots of opportunities there, but I just want to be kind of crystal clear and transparent on that. So I'm going to pause there. I'm super excited. I think it's the foundation for us to build proper success, and it solves a lot of our challenges. But I'm gonna throw it open to questions and thoughts, and if anyone has any kind of feedback for me as we start to launch the program proper. Cool. I see a couple of hands. Jessica, were you?
No, that's just my residual hand from before. I didn't want to interrupt you halfway through. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, good. Cool.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Max. I'm Mette. I'm worked for Channel Factory in Denmark, but I have prior to that worked almost 9 years at Google in Denmark.
Oh, cool. Welcome to the other side of the house.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering, in terms of the communication,
yes.
You mentioned that you started to increase the level of communication internally about Channel Factory. And I just remember that was very difficult working in Denmark, at least. There were not that much sort of communication about how we were working together. So I was just wondering, how would that continue? How would you do that for each of the different markets? Because right now we're talking on a high level of clusters, right? So how would you do that in each of the countries?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a team of like one. So I'm not getting out in front of 100,000 people. It's just not.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it's not possible for me to do. Yeah. So we've taken a bit of a kind of staggered approach. So what we've done, my core conduit of information is through our agency teams. So because the agencies are predominantly the budget the kind of budget holders for the companies that you work with, right? I have been presenting to the Northern Europe agency managers. I presented to some of the Eastern European agency managers, the US agency managers. I'm on a bit of an APAC kind of push through the end of this quarter. I'm equipping those agency teams with the knowledge to then field the questions from their pod teams, so the frontline teams, because I don't have the ability to talk to every seller everywhere all at once. So we've done that. That's what I've been doing the last few weeks. We have created an awful lot of documentation around this program. So there are like hundreds of documents now regarding YTAP and by proxy Channel Factory, which are available for teams. They're able to kind of surface that. Through that knowledge of both shareable documentation and a suite of kind of trainers, we're actually finding that the knowledge is permeating naturally through the rest of those teams, as you would expect. But going into 2026, we're also looking at how we can leverage our go-to-market teams to better formalize some of the role of third parties in like YouTube training across our team. So as we launch and as we get more into like YTAP officially, there will be opportunities for me to basically plug into some of our current YouTube training work streams so that I can get better representation across our teams. It's not a one and done, it's going to be a continued effort. But I would say from where we were this time last year, where I didn't have a great remit to be able to talk to those teams, YTAP has given me that opportunity to talk to them. And beyond that, all of our sales leadership and ads are now familiar with the YTAP program. It's gone, to every global sales leader is aware that we've launched. They're aware of what we're trying to do. So yeah, we're getting there. But there's a lot of work to do. But hopefully I think what you'll see is over time it will improve. It won't be an overnight, but it will be over time this is better. And I will say, if you're talking to my colleagues in market, use these talking points. Build that awareness yourself as well as you start. So it's like, hey, we're really excited, we're part of this program. Let's talk about what that means for our kind of collaboration, because the more we talk about it, the better we can continue to vocalize it. Juliet.
Hello. Thank you, Max, for taking us through that. It's very exciting. I'm curious about the accelerator programs for indies that you mentioned. I know that you said that you can't necessarily share too much on it. Obviously, I think, first of all, it goes without saying we would be super keen to be involved here. And we do a lot with indies already. I'm kind of curious on how it's working currently US and how you would anticipate it working here with the other partners. and the sales lead. So is it a matter of becoming close to the Googlers who would be facilitating kind of who they intro into an indie, or would they intro, say, us and MIQ and Pixability, and then it's fight for your lives?
Yeah, good question. So the way it's been structured in the US, and it's been live for a quarter now, is the team basically identified a list of agencies that they work with with undeveloped YouTube opportunities, and then they worked with yourself, but then Jenny kind of out in the US, and some of your US counterparts were part of this, on basically whether or not you had an established relationship with them already. If you had an established relationship, it was easy to just say, hey, go ahead and let's talk about how we think about more YouTube through this partner. Where there wasn't that, they basically facilitated an introduction to all partners, because what we need to be is a bit kind of neutral in how we think about kind of sharing that. We can't say, oh, Channel Factory can have these agencies and Pixability can have these agencies, because it's not a fair way, and we can't decide on that distribution, right? But what we will do is say, hey, look, we've got 4 partners here who are really excited. Here's what they do. We can facilitate an introduction to whoever you're interested in. Let's think about that plan. So yeah, as much as I'd love to be able to say, hey, Channel Factory, let's go and talk to them, we have to take a kind of neutral Switzerland-esque approach to how we do, like co-pitch and things in that sense.
Okay, great. Yeah. So essentially we need to already have, it's like another sort of boost to be the first people, even with having a bit of an established relationship there. Or if it's a pitch off, then yeah, happy with that. Thanks, Max.
Yeah, but if it's all net new, to have your kind of sales strategy, your thinking ready, we can kind of support on that. And I'd say, yeah, the people who are going to facilitate this will be our GCS agency teams. So we're trying to codify this as an official part of their strategy for 2026. So there'll be some appointed leaders who will take you through that. I can't say exactly how it will work once it turns into the new 2026 flavor of this pilot, but you'll have a chance to kind of influence the how as we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Max.
You're welcome. Sami.
Hi, Max, and thank you for your sets. I have one question regarding the local insights and data that we from time to time ask from Google. Do you think this program could help us in achieving and getting those materials from Google? Or...
I think localized data will be hard because of the nature of the program personally. So local data is often owned and created by local teams, like the pod teams. The client teams have their own analysts who build a lot of that information. This is a global program, so at a global level, we get the kind of general sales stories, the general sales narratives. And if we want local data, I have to go and basically beg those teams to give it to me because they've produced it. So I don't think at scale, being able to take every market's data that they produce will be effective. But it's a good request because I know it's a pain point. So maybe what we can see is if there's workarounds we can work on for top markets or top opportunities. But I'd say phase 1 as we launch, consider the data that we'll be sharing and information far more like the macro YouTube story, the proof points that we take out to all advertisers, the product developments, the product roadmap. So you have the base of our sales material and information, which will then typically what our teams would do is then layer on a couple of extra kind of proof points and data points locally. We are working on the access to the YouTube Reach Curves API, which will integrate into your tools. I'm hopeful that by providing you with better integrated YouTube data, you can start to pull some of that. You won't get the insights, but you'll get better kind of planning data within your tools to be able to supplement what you're doing to those customers already. But yeah, it's a good question.
Oh, thanks.
Anyone else? All right.
Cool.
Hang on. Thank you, Max, as always. And
Thanks,
we'll get
Max.
Everybody.
the information through email. Thank you.
Cheers.
Good to see you all. Okay, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thanks, bye.